Hey there, Gemini. Welcome to your July 2019 reading. If you are new to my channel and this is the first video that you've watched, welcome. I hope you have a good time and enjoy the video. And if you are someone who's been here for a while or someone who's seen one of the videos before and is returning, welcome back. I'm going to talk a little bit here at the top just about a couple of things. So if you don't want to hear me talk, I'll put some times here for you guys so that you can skip ahead. I do talk a little bit at the beginning just to basically give me extra time to get into the energy for the sign that I'm reading. But also there are some things that I just need to say. So the first one is I am doing the videos this month a little bit differently than I did them last month. So I did record an in-depth walkthrough of the spread that I'm going to use for this reading, but it's in a separate video. And I'll put the link to that video in the description box below. And for those of you who want to actually know more about the spread and understand it a little bit more deeply, you should go watch that video first and then come back here. And if you don't want to go watch that video, that's fine. I will put up little title cards in between each section that just give a really quick layout of what the cards are in terms of their meaning within the spread. And that would be enough just so you can follow along and know what's happening. So other than that, the only thing that I want to say is that this is a general reading, and that means that everything I say may or may not resonate with you. And if it doesn't, don't try to force anything. This reading is designed for Gemini Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. So if this particular reading doesn't resonate with you, maybe check out your rising sign video. That one might be a little bit more aligned to the energy that you have going on currently. Okay, we are going to go ahead at this point and move into the pre-shuffle. I am going to speed that pre-shuffle up and I'll talk over music. The reason for that, because people have asked, I normally play music while I'm doing the pre-shuffle, and everything that I would play would have a copyright on it. And I can't actually include that in the video, so that's why I don't actually show the pre-shuffle. It's part of my process just to listen to music that I like, and so that's why it's like this. And plus, the pre-shuffle sometimes take me a long time, just because I'm working to make sure that I feel the cards are ready. So it would be way too long just to play the whole thing. So we're going to jump into that, and then when we're done with the pre-shuffle, we'll come right back in and get started on the reading. Alright, Gemini, you guys had a lot of cards come out here, so I'm going to talk about them in groups because some of them literally came out clumped together, and I see those as being connected into an overall idea or message. The first card out is the Hierophant Upright, and by this card coming out at the beginning, I feel like you've either learned a lot about your spiritual and moral values through a trusted advisor, or you find yourself wishing that you had a mentor to help guide you in those areas. The next card out is the Ten of Coins reversed, and this speaks to the moment when you look around at all the stuff you thought was going to make you happy, and you find yourself wondering whether you really want any of it at all. It's possible that you might be making attempts to stop defining your own worth by the amount of money and possessions that you have, or maybe you're facing some financial issues at the moment. Two cards come out together next, the Queen of Swords upright and the Four of Swords upright. I think you're taking a really honest and truthful look at the state of your life and realizing that you realistically can't handle healing the things that you need to heal if you're constantly trying to just keep your head above water. You want to find a way to step back or even manage to take a breath. Most likely, you've made some choices recently which will allow you to have more peace and solitude. Other people might not understand your decisions, but you really don't care. You know that this is the best move for you, and you are already putting your plan into motion. And you have three cards come out in a clump again. So you have the High Priestess upright with the Knight of Wands upright and the Seven of Cups reversed. You're entering into a period of very deep spiritual contemplation and exploration. You're no longer focused on simply healing your heart. You're ready to do the work of healing your soul. You're excited about this, and you're moving quickly to make this vision become your reality. You have a lot of energy and support behind you, and you've tapped into a lot of motivation and passion. Once again, other people might be baffled but you know what is best for you, and you're pushing forward so you can prove to everyone who doubted you that your approach was the right approach. This is a lot going on, but I really feel energetically, Gemini, like you're just sort of going with it. You don't feel stressed out. You just feel like you're very focused on mapping out plans and putting things into motion and making sure that you have checklists and everything's getting done that needs to get done. So I'm excited to see what happens in the reading for you guys. Okay, Gemini, we're back from the pre-shuffle. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's actually very relaxing for me. I'm going to go ahead and lay out the cards. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to use the bottom card here as your first card out. Other than that, it's exactly how the spread was explained. I will go ahead in a minute and put up a title slide for you guys, but first I'll just let you watch me lay out the spread itself. So again, I'm going to pull right here from the bottom for your card number 1. And then we'll do the rest straight off the top. So how are you guys doing this month? I don't actually remember your reading from last month off the top of my head. Very often when I do these, as soon as I do them, I forget about them. So hope you guys are doing well. And we're going to start this reading with the 3 cards here in the middle. But before I turn them over here, I'm going to put up the title slide for you guys, just so the people that didn't go watch the other separate video have an idea of what the cards represent. Okay, so now that we're back from that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over all 3 of the first 3 cards. I'm going to work through this section fairly quickly. And I'll show you the cards here and then switch the camera back to me. So coming out in card number 1, you have the King of Coins. For the connection itself, you have the 5 of Wands reversed. And then coming out in terms of the purpose of this connection, you have the Hermit. So these are very interesting cards. It's, in a way, it's a mixed bag here. So we'll start with the overall energy, setting the tone for the reading. You have the King of Coins coming out upright. This card signifies everything about hard work, success, a business mind, creating wealth and abundance, financial security. It's an indicator that right now, Gemini, at least for you, I feel that focusing on your money is really where your mind is right now. It's interesting because looking at the second card in terms of the connection between these 2 people, the 5 of Wands reversed is, it's about more of a conflict within oneself or avoiding a conflict with someone else. It's interesting because in a way, I feel like this might end up being more of a singles read than it is a true relationship read. It doesn't mean that it's still not a love reading. Obviously, some people who are single want to get into relationships and some people want to remain single. But it's interesting because the purpose of the connection, and this connection really is, the connection card is about being inside yourself in conflict and avoiding having conflict with other people. So I don't see a lot here that's saying other person. Now, we haven't seen the other cards. We don't know what happened before this. That's where the other person might pop in. It could be that there was someone recently who is no longer part of the picture. And we do have the whole section that's looking forward into what's coming ahead. So no one jump off the video just yet, but right now, in terms of this story, I'm seeing, Gemini, you're focusing on your money. You're keeping to yourself for the most part. You have some stuff inside that you're trying to figure out and navigate and deal with. But really, the purpose of what's happening right now, the purpose of, I'm going to say of the connection, but it most likely is either the connection that just ended or the connection that's coming. You have the Hermit upright, and it just fits with the rest of the story. I feel like right now, Geminis are very much in that space of being in their heads and enjoying being there. I know a lot of times Geminis can get in their head and it really becomes almost a nightmare for them because it becomes consuming. But right now, you're really enjoying just being in your mind, thinking about things and mapping things out and figuring out what it is that you want and how you're going to get it. I feel that as long as you're also doing some soul searching and spiritual work while you're in that mental space, and it's not just purely analytical and detached from emotion, if you can get a good mix in, I think that will yield better results for you. But this is really straightforward, and as I've said a couple of times, I'm not picking up energy of another person right now, so we're going to go ahead and move into the next section, and I'll put the title slide up now. When we come back from that, we'll look at these top 4 cards. Okay guys, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and turn over all 4 of these cards. I want to get a look at all of them. I'll walk you through them individually and then talk about what's happening here. Well, first of all, every card has come out reversed. I'm going to show you the cards really quickly, just so you can see the cards, and I'll walk you through. And I might pick these cards up again as I talk about them, but I just know people like seeing the cards, and I like getting it out of the way so I don't have to remember. Okay, so you've seen the cards there. I'm going to go back to this angle. I'm going to start, Gemini, with you and your current emotional state. This is the 3 of Wands here reversed. So this is one of those situations, and this happens very often with Geminis, go figure, that there are 2 ways that I'm feeling this is being expressed. So for group 1 of you, this is pointing that where you're at emotionally right now is being more reflective backwards and feeling like you didn't see what was happening, or you didn't see what was coming, and really feeling like you should have, and being very upset about that, and feeling like you played small with, you were playing small when in reality, when in your mind you thought that it was something big and grand, and that's sort of what's led to this thing in the middle, where you've just really sort of detached a lot from other people, and you're just in your head thinking. That's for one group of you. For the second group, I feel like right now, currently, because of where you're at in your emotional state here, I feel like it's a warning that you're currently not really putting as much into life and into connections as you could and probably as you should. It just feels like both of those are true, and so I wanted to mention both of them. It doesn't really have an impact on any of the other reading other than just for the people who are actually going to sit to watch this video. Some of you will resonate with one and some of you will resonate with the other. The underlying fear for Gemini is the Two of Swords reversed, and this just makes sense for you guys. This is the card of indecision and stalemate. It's the space where you're confused about what you should do, nothing feels quite right, nothing feels quite wrong. If you made a pro and con list, they would be equal. It's that space that I was talking about earlier in terms of Gemini. It is the place that you fear. I think I actually said, like, you guys don't like this space. I think that you're scared that if you think about whatever happened here too much, you'll get into this space of not being able to do anything. It's almost like you can't justify trying again, and you can't justify completely giving up. And you just keep getting stuck in this place of not being able to move on and not being able to re-engage. And that fear is what's causing this Three of Wands emotional state in you. If you could shift the fear, and instead of feeling fear regarding being a bit retrospective and thinking back and processing and hopefully releasing some of the pain and anger that exists from this past connection, if you can dial this fear down a little bit, you'll see that you can actually get pretty clear in your mind about whether you made the right choice or whether you think you might have made a mistake. But as long as you have this fear of getting into this place where you feel like you can't make a decision, and it's like being on a hamster wheel, you're just going round and round and not ever getting any sort of closure or resolution or understanding, the best thing that you can do in that situation is to try your best to stop thinking as much and let the feelings and emotions step up. Because feelings and emotions aren't as easy to have tiebreakers. It can happen, but usually, if we're really honest with ourselves, our feelings and emotions do show us what we really feel and how we're doing. For this other person, I was really curious about what would show up here, and I do feel like this is speaking to a past relationship. It could be that this is a relationship from a while ago, meaning maybe not the most recent relationship. Or if it is the most recent relationship, it would have been a fairly long-term relationship, because I'm seeing some distance going back to when this started. So yeah, that's all I'm really getting, is that there's, when this started, when the relationship started, feels like it's fairly back. So not within the past 6 months or a year, further back than that. So it might possibly be your most recent relationship, or it could have been a relationship that you had a while back and you've had relationships since. For this person, their current emotional state is very interesting. They have the Five of Cups reversed. And it just feels like they've pulled away a lot. There's definitely a sense that this person has moved on, and I feel that part of the reason that they have moved on is they had to do that in order to find a way of achieving forgiveness towards themselves. And they realized that if they didn't move on and sort of cut the connection, it would hold them back from being able to move forward. The underlying fear for them, the Six of Coins reversed, it's a really interesting card to come out because it just feels like for them, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, I'm just telling you what they feel. For them, they feel like they gave everything and got nothing in return. They feel like they feel like they were all in and you always were like halfway out. And because of that, they've just pulled all of their energy back away from any sort of memory. Because for them, even the good memories for them feel sad now because there's this question in their mind about, was it sincere, was it real, were the feelings truthful? And again, I'm not saying that they're right or wrong, but this is how they feel. So because they feel this way, this is what truth is to them. I find it really interesting that both people are very clearly, both people are deeply impacted by this ending. But they are going about dealing with it in different ways. Gemini, I feel like for you, you're just wanting to be strong and focused and do what you can to map out a future that feels worthwhile. I had to search for those words there because that was very specific. A life that feels worthwhile is what you're looking for. And for the other person, I don't think that they have that same motivation towards making big adjustments in their life or any specific goals. For them, it was just a matter of needing to have this done and to be able to show themselves that they could walk away from it and not turn back around and try to re-engage, but they could really let this go and be okay. And I think that they've achieved that. I feel like they know that you're going to be okay, they know that they're going to be okay, and what they were seeking in terms of just being able to not feel and not think about really anything, any memory of anything, at least for now, they've achieved that. Because it's like I'm saying, for them, even when the good memories would pop into their mind, it was painful. And I understand that as a water sign. I totally get that. Where there are times with certain people or in certain situations where you're even robbed of your good memories. I will say right here, before moving on to the next section, that this is a general reading, so it's totally possible the energies could be reversed. So if, Gemini listening to me, if you feel more like your energy is over here and this is the other person, that's totally possible in this general reading for the energies to be reversed. But for most of you, I feel like you're here, the other person is over here. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the title slide for the next section. This is where the spread becomes a little bit predictive. This is where we're going to talk about what lies ahead. And as soon as that slide is done, we'll flip all 4 cards over, because I want to take a look at all 4. Okay guys, welcome back. I'm going to just switch over here, flip these cards over. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to do this just a little bit differently, because even though I've seen all 4 cards, I'm actually just going to show you guys the current desired outcome. So Gemini, for you, desired outcome, you have the Knight of Swords reversed. And for the other person, for their desired outcome, they have the Knight of Cups upright. I find this very interesting simply because these knights are, they're very interesting in terms of thinking of 2 people and where they ultimately want things to end up. Gemini, for you, with this Knight of Swords reversed, I really feel like right now what you want is to just be able to be a bit impulsive and not think about things so seriously, and not really have a ton of pressure on you. I think for you, you're really wanting to see how it feels to just have fun and not really get attached, not really be concerned about where things might go, what might happen, but just enjoy being. Just live your life and not really overthink things. That's really what you want. It's interesting because, you know, going back up here to this Two of Swords, you know, this is the fear that you have, is that you'll end up in this life where you're just stuck and you can't make any decisions, and because you can't make decisions, you're not really having any experiences, and your life becomes, you know, blocked from you because you can't get motion in any direction. That's a huge fear that you have. And so right now, the desired outcome that you have is to reconnect to that part of you that's spontaneous and can just dive into life for the sake of diving into it and seeing what happens. Now this other person, for their desired outcome, they have the Knight of Cups coming out upright, and it's a similar vibe in, you know, this Knight of Cups is, they're bold and they're not held back in a similar vibe, but for them, they're focused so much on romance, and they're thinking about this, in their mind, they're trying to think about this perfect, super romantic, beautiful type of connection that they want to manifest and pull into them. And the way that they're going about that is they're just trying to be as charming and romantic and flirtatious and affectionate as they can be. It's such different energy in terms of desired outcome. And what's really interesting to me is I want to actually just go here, which is the other person, what the other person needs to heal. For this, There's another Knight. They got the Knight of Wands. With this other person, with their desired outcome being the Knight of Cups and what they need to heal being the Knight of Wands, that sets up an interesting dynamic, and it gives me some insight into this person, because the Knight of Wands is that playboy sort of energy. It's this very charismatic, very flirtatious, very sensual, very sexual type of masculine energy. It's all passion, and it's very fiery, and for them, I feel that they've relied on that a lot in their life. And what they've realized is that existing as this Knight of Wands has allowed them to pull people in, but it hasn't allowed them to experience people staying. What they're realizing is that the Knight of Cups, in a way, is almost like the Knight of Wands settled down, or looking to settle down. Because there's still the same passion and romance, and the energy of these two are very similar, but for the Cups, they've started the process of connecting with their emotions and figuring out what they need, and they've opened up to a more romantic sort of connection versus one that's really based on lust or attraction. So this person is actually, if they actually do this work, they're setting themselves up for a really good life lesson. And I feel that they're trying to add more into their interactions with people to make it clear that it's not just a sexual or a casual thing that they're hoping to create. I wanted to come to this card last here in this section, Gemini, because this is what needs to heal for you. And even though this was the first card I saw, I wanted to talk about it last, because you have the Lovers coming out reversed. So Gemini, this is your card. The Lovers is the Gemini card. And when the card comes out in the position of what you need to heal, and it's your own card reversed, it makes it pretty clear what is going on. Now, when the Lovers are reversed, it's about imbalance and indecision and having conflicting feelings or having conflicting points of view or goals. It's everything being completely out of whack and not being able to sort through it. It's the same sort of vibe as this Two of Swords again coming out, which was your fear. You have to figure out how you can, number one, catch yourself before you get so into your head that you end up stuck in that space of thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and you've run so many complex potentials that you've spent weeks and months of your life trying to figure out how to start moving on. And when you think about that, it makes you angry that you spent that much time thinking it in your head. What you have to bring in order to heal is the type of energy that the Lovers brings when it's upright. And this is about coming from a place of loving yourself and loving others and allowing that to be something that guides you in your choices and your values and the types of relationships that you have and what you want those relationships to look and feel like. Gemini is represented by the Lovers because it's about figuring out how to get the twins that exist with you guys to support one another and have shared goals, and figuring out how to compromise between those two opposing things that you have inside of you. It's what has to happen in relationships. So it's what has to happen in the relationship between the two sides that you possess. You have to have that relationship be super healthy. And the only way to do that is to really focus on yourself, which is what you've started to do here. It's impossible to focus on healing that relationship you have within yourself when you're focused on a relationship outwardly towards another person. And the flip side of that is a relationship outwardly with another person isn't going to work until you've healed that relationship internally. So you can see how this is showing both people are doing exactly what they need to do and are both kind of okay with it at this point. It's pretty clear that there's not a lot of animosity. There's actually not a lot of energy even being sent back and forth between these two people. It's like from the very start, I said, like, I don't feel any sort of thing here. We're going to close out this part and go into the last section, which are the divine messages. I will say before I put up the title slide really quickly, so these two cards here that I've not yet flipped over, what I want you to do is to think about who these messages are coming from. So that could mean you are getting this from your guardian angel, from your spirit guides. It could be from a loved one who's passed over. It could be from a twin flame or a soulmate. It could be from a future version of yourself who's sending you this message, whatever you want. If you want to assign whatever, it's fine. It's totally up to you. The reason for this is because now the cards are going to have a special and unique meaning to you, and everyone will interpret the cards a little bit differently based on where that message is coming from for them. So think about that as the title slide is playing, and then when we come back, I'll go ahead and flip these over and talk about the cards, and then we'll wrap the reading up. Okay, so welcome back. I'm going to go ahead and just turn these over. I hope that everyone has gotten who they want the message to be from. If you don't have that yet, pause the video, take the time to read, and then press play when you're ready. Oh, okay. I actually like this. So the first card out is going to be advice and guidance. And again, you'll know who this is coming from. But for the advice guidance here, you have the Eight of Cups coming out upright. This is such a beautiful card because this is the card of realizing that you are restricting yourself. Typically, this card is represented by someone who is blindfolded and their hands are bound. But when you really look, they could see if they wanted to, and their hands aren't actually tied. They're not actually enclosed in anything. There's space for them to walk out, but they feel like they have been trapped or that they're stuck. And the truth of the matter is that it's just a mental thing. It's a mental imprisonment. If you can take a step back, you'll see that there's really nothing going on that you can't deal with. It's just in your mind, it seemed like it was very dire, that it was very impossible to deal with. This card just speaks to not allowing yourself to end up in a place where you're convincing yourself that you're a victim or that you're not capable, because that does you no good. So I think that's a really beautiful message coming out for advice and guidance. Typically, this last card here is the most likely outcome if things continue as they are. Now, again, I'll say there's not a lot of activity here, so I'm going to just say that we're going to assume that things will continue as they are, because I think that's what both people want. And this card would seem to support that idea. So coming out as the most likely outcome, if you just keep doing what you're doing, you have the King of Swords. It's upright. Ultimately, you're going to reach a place where you have mental clarity around this situation, and you will reach something internally that to you feels like the truth. And what I mean by that is your own truth. You will reach a point where you are very clear about what it is that you want, what really matters to you, things that you're willing to negotiate on, things that are non-negotiable to you that you just cannot deal with and you won't accept. And reaching that place before you start to look for a relationship or before you get into another relationship, it gives you a lot of peace, because you realize that because you've done this work and you've thought about this before trying again, you don't have to worry about it once you're in it, because you already know yourself and you figured that part out. And that allows you to go into whatever is next and be able to make decisions very easily. Because if this person wants something or does something or behaves in a way that's on your non-negotiable, you know that there's no wiggle room for you on that. So that person's not a good match, and you move on. It becomes something that gives you a lot of confidence and a lot of relief going through this and really working to get to this King of Swords, the King of Swords vibe, where you just have a very clear idea about what is your truth, and you stick to that. So Gemini, that's going to wrap it up. This was interesting. I actually feel like a lot of you guys are going to be really happy with this, because I think that maybe some of you felt like taking this time just to focus on yourself was not the right move, or was selfish, or might have some negative consequence. But I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I think that it's good. It's good what is going on, and it's good for the other person as well. If you have that curiosity, I feel like they're doing good things for them, and it's going to help them. But that's not connected to you and the stuff you're doing. There's energy has been severed here, and I don't see that changing in the near future, at least, because both of these people, they're doing their own work and they're focusing on healing things that they need to heal, and they're not really, there's no longer this pull of, that what if and longing. There's been enough time and distance that it's done. This is closed out. I will point out here that, we don't have a lot of tens. We don't have cards that typically signify things closing out. We don't have the Wheel of Fortune. We don't have the World coming out here. So it doesn't necessarily mean that these two people will never have a connection again, but that is something that's unknown and unknowable until these two people become who they are once they heal this stuff they need to heal. And then at that point, when they are those people, who knows? They may or may not have the ability to form a new connection that may or may not be similar to what it was here. But that's really not something that you should worry about. I know some of you are going to have that as a question. It's really time to just focus on you and getting really clear about what matters to you and what the next person will be like, for you to know that they are the right person. So Gemini, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. If you are new and you have not yet subscribed, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. If you want YouTube to send you notifications when I post new videos, make sure you also click that bell icon. And I look forward to reconnecting with you guys in August. If you do take a moment to leave a comment, I do go into the comments when the videos are relatively new and respond to people. So if you want to leave a comment, please do. I would love to hear from you and get to know you a little bit better. Have a good one, and thank you for letting me do your reading.